Can you believe what's happening in Washington this week? As the Bengals release players and NFL analysts start acknowledging what Adam Peters is building here in the DMV, I've got 3 pieces of news that will make you understand why this burgundy and gold organization is finally playing chess, while other teams are still playing checkers. But first, let me ask you something. Do you think Peters is done surprising us? Because after what we're going to analyze today, I guarantee you'll want to be part of this Commanders family that's witnessing history live. If you're true Washington fans, like this right now and subscribe because what's coming is going to be explosive. Let's start with something many didn't see coming, but was obvious to those who know the game. The Cincinnati Bengals just released Germaine Pratt, their captain and last season's leader in tackles with 143 tackles. And do you know what this means for us? First, let's talk about who Germaine Pratt really is. This is not just any linebacker that the Bengals decided to throw away because he wasn't good. No, we're talking about a player who was a 3rd-round pick from North Carolina State, who earned the captain's armband on a playoff defense, and who last year had the best season of his career with 143 tackles. But here's what many aren't seeing. Pratt requested a trade earlier this season, which means he wants to leave Cincinnati. And do you know what that means for us? If Peters approaches him, he's going to have full motivation to come to Washington and prove the Bengals made a mistake. I tell you this, after years of watching the Commanders have to beg for decent linebackers, after seeing Ryan Kerrigan have to carry that defense alone for years, now we have the golden opportunity to get a proven player who knows what it is to lead an NFL defense. But why is this so important for us specifically? Because our defense under Dan Quinn is designed to have multiple linebackers who can take on different roles. We have Bobby Wagner, who's a legend but already 35 years old. We have Frankie Louvu, who was excellent last year but is coming off an injury. What happens if we need depth? What happens if we want to have special packages? Pratt is not just a run defense player. This man can cover tight ends, can blitz from different angles, and most importantly, he knows how to communicate plays on the second line of defense. Do you remember when we had communication problems on defense and saw receivers completely alone in the middle of the field? With Pratt, Wagner, and Louvu, those days are over. The Bengals released Pratt to save $6 million on salary cap, which means he's now available without us having to give up draft picks. You're crazy if you think Peters won't at least make a call. When we think of all we've suffered at linebacker over the years, seeing a player of this caliber available for nothing is like finding gold in your backyard. And here's something I think is critical. Pratt comes from a Cincinnati culture that's been to the Super Bowl recently. He knows what it feels like to be in January playing meaningful games. That experience is priceless, especially for young players like Magee and Medrano, who will be learning from him. If that surprises you, wait to hear what's coming. Because while we might get Pratt, there's another piece of news that's going to make some of you sad. And here comes the news that will hurt many Commanders fans. The dream of getting Trey Hendrickson has just died. And do you know why? Exactly for the same reason Pratt is available. But first, let me explain why Hendrickson was so attractive. To us, we're talking about a pass rusher who's had more than 10 sacks in each of the last 3 seasons. A player who knows the AFC North, who has played playoff games, and who was supposedly available because he had contractual issues with Cincinnati. Let me explain the connection. The Bengals released Pratt to save $6 million, and that money wasn't given to charity. I tell you this, that money is exactly what they needed to extend Hendrickson's contract and keep him in Cincinnati. Do you remember when we all thought we could get this pass rusher who had more than 10 sacks last season? Well, those days are over. The Bengals aren't going to be stupid enough to release their tackle leader and lose their best pass rusher at the same time. That would be sports suicide. But here's what Ryan Heckman from Rigo's Rag is saying, and I completely agree. The idea that Cincinnati was going to release Pratt knowing they couldn't retain Hendrickson is completely ridiculous. NFL GMs can make mistakes, but they're not that stupid. Now, here's what I really think. Did we really need Hendrickson? Let's be honest for a second. We have Clelin Ferrell, who proved last year that he can be productive when healthy. We have Dorrance Armstrong, who's coming off a solid season. And Peters has already proven to us that he knows how to build a complete defense without relying on a single star player. And how much was Hendrickson going to cost us? We're talking about multiple draft picks, probably a second round at least, and then a contract of more than $20 million per year. Do you know how much money that is? That's money we need to extend Jaden Daniels, to keep Terry McLaurin, to build something sustainable in the long term. While Jerry Jones in Dallas keeps chasing big names and wasting salary cap, we're building something solid. Do you remember when the Cowboys gave $160 million to Dak Prescott? Or when they spent a fortune on Ezekiel Elliott? How many Super Bowls have they won since then? Exactly. And now I ask you, would you prefer to have a proven linebacker like Pratt that we can get without giving up anything, plus all the money we save by not chasing Hendrickson? Or would you prefer to bet everything on a pass rusher that was going to cost us draft picks we need for the future? The reality is this. Dan Quinn knows how to get pressure without relying on a single play. He did it in Atlanta. He did it in Dallas as a defensive coordinator. He's going to find ways to maximize what we have, and I'd rather bet on his system than bet everything on a single player. But here's what's really crazy, because while we miss out on an opportunity with Hendrickson, we have NFL analysts acknowledging that Peters already made the steal of the century. This is burgundy and gold, baby. Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports just said what we all already knew. Adam Peters stole Deebo Samuel from us for a 5th-round pick, and this could be the trade of the year in the entire NFL. But let me explain why. This trade is so important, and why Benjamin is right when he says this was a complete steal. First, let's talk about what Deebo Samuel represents as a player. This is not a normal receiver who can only run routes. No. Samuel is what the NFL calls a positionless player. He can play as a wide receiver, can play as a running back, can do reverses, can do screens, can do everything a modern offense needs. Do you realize what this means? We got a player who, 2 seasons ago, was considered one of the best dual-threat weapons in the league, and the 49ers gave him to us for practically nothing. While the Eagles had to give up multiple picks for A.J. Brown, while the Dolphins paid a fortune for Tyreek Hill, we got Samuel for a 5th-round pick. And do you know why the 49ers let him go so cheap? Because they had a down season in 2024 and thought he was finished. They're crazy! Samuel comes from playing in a San Francisco system that didn't maximize his skills, with a quarterback room that was constantly changing, and with an offensive line that didn't give him adequate protection. I believe this is going to be historic. Can you imagine Jaden Daniels with Terry McLaurin on one side and Deebo Samuel on the other? With Cliff Kingsbury designing plays to take advantage of Samuel's versatility, this offense is going to be impossible to defend. But here's what has me most excited. Kingsbury knows exactly how to use players like Samuel. Do you remember when he was in Arizona and made Christian Kirk look like a star? Do you remember how he maximized DeAndre Hopkins? Now imagine what he's going to do with a player of Samuel's caliber. And here's the best part. Samuel is motivated. The 49ers basically told him they no longer wanted him, that they didn't believe in him. Benjamin mentions this in his analysis. Samuel is going to want to prove that San Francisco made a mistake. Do you think he's going to let that slide just like that? They're crazy. This man is going to come to Washington to prove the Niners made the biggest mistake of their history. But let's go deeper into the tactical analysis. With McLaurin as the field stretcher drawing safety help over the top, Samuel is going to have complete freedom to operate on intermediate routes and in the underneath game. More importantly, with Samuel on the field, defenses won't be able to use single high safety looks because they're going to need help for both McLaurin and Samuel. And in the red zone, forget it! Samuel is one of the best red zone threats in the league. He can run fades, can run slants, can do handoffs, can do it all. Jaden Daniels already showed last year that he's lethal in the red zone, and now with Samuel, he's going to be unstoppable. But now I ask you something deeper. When was the last time we saw the Commanders make moves this smart? Peters isn't playing. He's building a contender, and moves like this are exactly why I believe we're about to witness something special in Washington. The Cowboys continue to rely solely on CeeDee Lamb, and when he doesn't play well, the whole offense collapses. The Giants have no idea what to do at receiver. They spent millions on Kenny Golladay, who was a complete bust, and now they're starting. Over again. The Eagles are paying fortunes for A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, two excellent players, but who cost them multiple first and second round picks. Meanwhile, we got a 29-year-old player in his prime for a 5th round pick, Diostep. You know how much value that represents? Benjamin puts it perfectly in his analysis. It's nice to see this team not sitting still with the dynamic Jaden Daniels under center. And that's the key to all of it. Peters understands that we have a special window with Jaden in his rookie contract, and he's taking every opportunity to maximize that window. He's not waiting. He's not being conservative. He's being aggressive in the right. Let's recap what we've just analyzed. Pratt available and perfect for our system. Hendrickson lost, but for the right reasons. Samuel stolen and ready to explode. 3 pieces of news that show us exactly the direction this organization is heading. Under Adam Peters. Do you know what all this means? That we finally have someone who knows what they're doing in the front office. That after years of questionable decisions, after watching Dan Snyder destroy everything he touched, we now have someone who is 3 steps ahead of the rest of the league. Peters isn't trying to win headlines. He's not trying to make the flashiest move. He's building a team that can compete not only this year, but for the next 5 years while Jaden Daniels is in his prime. Give it a like if you think Peters should go for Pratt. Subscribe if you think the Samuel trade is going to be historic. And let me know in the comments, which of these moves do you think is going to have the most impact on our 2025 season? Do you prefer that we go for the security of Pratt to strengthen the linebacker? Or do you think we already have enough in defense? Does the Samuel trade excite you as much as it does me? Or do you think there are still doubts about his age? Do you think Peters did well in not pursuing Hendrickson? Or do you think we missed a golden opportunity? This is your Commanders family. This is your place to discuss what really matters about our team. Subscribe because tomorrow we're going to analyze what's coming at training camp, and I guarantee you'll want to be here for that. And remember, hail to the Redskins!